So John is Juan. John also comes first before Christ, correct? Isn't it John that proclaims who Christ is? And it's, it's going to be the same exact way that it was back then, these days. Literally, spiritually, and fakery. So you have the fakery where John showed up first, right? Over at Stephen Christ James house of prayer. But at the same time, you have the bottomless pit that is going to open up, and then the flood is going to come out of that pit. The flood. Satan is coming after us as a flood. But see, the earth opens up its mouth and swallows up the flood like it's nothing. So when the earth opens up their mouths and they speak the truth, well, it kind of just swallows up the flood. So if you already have John the Baptist at the house of Christ, well then who's Ryan? Who's Ryan? Who can Ron be? Now, I think it's Peter, right? I think it's Peter. But where does Elijah fit in? Even though this is already passed by, even though we're right there at the transformation point, because to walk with God for 365 days, the day of the Lord, it's walking with God for 365 days to see things ahead of time. That way, when you see all the other false prophets saying the same thing, collaborating together, but they're either 7 almost full years behind. But see, Steve Fletcher he's picking up because Stephen James has all of my information that I spoke, and all he's doing is taking my words, putting them on print form for Steve Fletcher to read out. Because now the flood happening May 21st, 2019, according to Steve Fletcher, well, it was actually 2018 because it's a full 365 days before. Now, I understand that you're doing the same timeline where the ark rested. You're just saying it rested on the 29th of December, or it's going to rest on the 29th of this December. It already rested at the beginning of the year, the first month, the first day. Actually, it's the 10th month according to the Enoch calendar. But give or take 3 days, I won't hold it against you. And but see, here's the thing. You're saying the rapture is going to happen on May 21st of 2019, and then for the next 365 days, which confirms the fact that Enoch did walk with God for 365 days. Just, when Steve James has his script and he has his guys doing his script, those confirmations happen because of that also, among many other reasons. But so I see that you're doing the 150 days, the waters abated, the 40-day countdown. You're doing the going all the way up to May 21st of 2020. Well, whatever. But Elijah has already come. Now, when Christ was on the earth, that's what he was telling people. But people thought that he was Elijah. or they thought that John the Baptist was Elijah. So when Elijah does get there, I'm just trying to think, is that Ron? Is Ron Elijah? And but then who's Moses? Who's Moses, Steve? Who like, or is that John? Is it John the Baptist, or is it John? Was John the Baptist the same one that wrote Revelation, or was it John, some other John? Does anybody know? Because I don't know that. I don't know the history as well as the Pharisees and Sadducees do. They're supposed to know the history. And then they know the history so well that they can literally play it out in front of your face like Stephen James DeShawn is doing. He's playing it out. You know, to know his position, where he's at, to know the authority that he's been given that's going to be taken away, because the regular people, the regular watchers that are in charge, you know, the elite watchers, not the elite of the world that runs the world, the elite that are getting ready to run the world, the ones that are actually searching to make sure that things are safe as much as possible. You guys. So you guys are the ones that are not going to come to Stephen James DeShawn's help. He has help on his way, but it's not going to be the help that he expects, because that help, the door has shut on that help. But I see how, you know, when you can play this out, you're in that position. You have that house. You're talking about contractors coming there. If you can get that concrete poured, like as if the 144,000 are going to be poured out on May 21st for the next 5 months. You know, like I said, happened 7 years ago, from May 21st, 2011 to October 21st, 2011, the 5-month period. So when you're taking that, Steve Fletcher's talking about the beginning of the flood is going to happen on May 21st, 2019, and then 150 days, which is 5 months. So now it's lining up even better, where you two guys are just, you know, like this. So you have the 150 days going into October, and then Steve's talking about you have until October to pour out, you know, like the Spirit on the 144,000. It already happened. You're too late. And but I know Steve already knows this. I know he already knows who these 144,000 people are. You already know, Steve. And so you have that. You have the people that you need, the contractors. You're looking for the contractors, which are private contractors, which is referring to this program that you have going on here. And you really are trying to get people to come up to your house. I think from that point on, you really will start to play the actual role of Jesus Christ and stay at that house and start preaching to those poor dear people that fell for it. And so yeah, I can see that actually happening. Now, I don't know about social media, the plan of it with you from that point on, but it's not going to happen the way that you think it is. It's just going to come to a screeching halt, because you only rule for a few days. Going from the 7th and into the 8th year of perdition, you get to rule for a few days, and that's it. Because you guys are turning your face against the fort of your own land, and you're going to stumble and fall. The reason why you're going to stumble and fall, it's not some dramatic earthquake that's going to happen. No earthquake's happening. The land split you're talking about will be the major great earthquake that you're talking about, but it's played out. It's played out through your words, through your videos, and then into the world. So that's the proof on my end that you have the world script right in front of you. Because when you keep talking about John and John's showing up, and then 5 days later, well, John's the shooter, because here comes Johnny, and then Johnny's interviewing John, and then Jon is on the other phone with John Moeller, and then John Trace is waiting for Jonathan Kleck to call him, and then you got all these Johns, and like I said, it would have been Michael, but I ruined that one for you, so you're not going to use Michael. At least I don't think so. But here's what you will use, and I'll tell you the name in a second, because I want to remember the timestamp so I can go back to it. The different names that you're using. John is the one name that you're using. And so Ron is another one, obviously, because he's coming to the house. Now, there might be a name of someone that is going to be in the news, responsible for some kind of damage. And right around 11/11, I want to remember it. His name would be Eli, something close to Elijah, and also Peter, because you have Peter, you already got James. They're already mentioning the name Steve. They're going to constantly mention Steve. I mean, Trump's been doing it, and David, Steve, Elijah, and Peter, because James is already there, John's already there, and so you got Peter, John, and James, and Elijah, and you got fire. You got the pits that are going to fill up with water, which means the flood is coming on the 21st of May, because that's when he's going to open up his bottomless pit, and the water's going to rise up, meaning the flood of lies coming out of his mouth. But that already happened last year on May 21st, 2018, after the 7th year. So this Great Tribulation period, yeah, Steve Fletcher, it is a year's worth of reckoning that the earth is getting devoured with fire as we speak. Do you see it burning up? No, you don't. You're not supposed to. If you see it burning up, it means they're playing it out literally in the world, and it's not real. So with the flood coming up from Steve's bottomless pit, when he turns the water on, he has a crack in his pipe, and Peter went and picked a new pipe, and so they're going to put that pipe in. However, the flood's still going to come up. The land split is still going to happen, because it's the land split and the flood. Right, this is all happening between May 15th and May 21st, May 14th and May 21st, 22nd, and so that's all literally going to happen on the TV screen when we see it. Israel should be splitting in half, right down the middle, when the survey comes and it gets approved, and then Steve gets his money. Everybody's supposed to get their contract on May 21st of this year, 2019. Everybody, all those contractors, those private contractors that are out there helping Steve, right? The ones that are paid to help, and they know that this is all a scam. You guys are screwed with your contracts, because you're not getting it. And at the same time, the ones that are in charge of Steve following through with everything, they've already come to their senses. They've already came back to their senses, just like King Nebuchadnezzar, because that represents multitudes of people, not just one person like it did back then. Just like Christ doesn't represent one person, just like Satan doesn't represent one person. But there are people that are going to play that out, and they're fake. So the King Neb spirit is the one that after 12 months from May 21st, 2018 to May 21st, 2019, they all came back to their senses. All of them. And then after 7 times passes over, So you got 7 good days to pass over. And at the same time, it's 7 full years of since the beginning of the warning of God's judgment, May 21st, 2011. So that's all taking place now. Steve's job is to show things as it is in heaven, so shall it be on earth. So he has his characters in place. Like, look, I mean, you got to give it to him. He definitely planned this out a long time in advance. And it's just funny because you would think, it's like, no, you're not going to find out who the Antichrist is the one that's playing the Antichrist in the world, Robin. You know what I mean? You're not going to find him. Well, I'm telling you, I already found him. And most of you already know that. But remember, when I was bringing Stephen James and Sean name up, and people were like, he's just a poor suffering servant. He don't even know anything. All right, well, just keep watching. For as long as I have my channel up, I will show you, before he does it, his patterns. And he knows this. That's why he's almost at the point of calling it truce. Because, you know, I'm pretty relentless when it comes to finding these facts and then putting them together. And it's just overwhelming evidence that it's this circumstantial evidence is absolutely clear. You have John that he's talking about. You have this isn't the only thing that he did and talked about beforehand and then it came to pass, because he was talking about the Michael coming to help for 21 days. Well, he didn't really say 21 days, but that's what he meant. And then Trump, exactly 21 full days later, Trump started to talk about, it was February 15th, and then it was a 21-day extension. So, yes, Steve is definitely part of the world script, and he has the world script right in front of him. So, when you're reading the world script, and you're playing things out, and in the world, okay, now remember, this is the entire world has a script that they're reading, and they're playing it out on TV, and Trump is the face in the mainstream media, and Stephen James DeShawn is the face underground, because he's the one that's in charge of gathering all this information about us, so he can follow through with his plan. So when you see them talking about Elijah and Peter and or Ronald, Ronnie, whatever name resembles Ron, Elijah, and Peter, and you already got James, and you already got Steve and David. These are all the names that they're talking about on TV. When you see that happening, when you see that Steve, I'm telling you what he's talking about. He's talking about that bottomless pit, getting ready to rise up from out of the bottomless pit, like the angel having the key to the bottomless pit, and a flood is coming out of the serpent's mouth to deceive everybody. So that's happening, and then the land split right down the middle, which is representing the earthquake, the great earthquake that we're going to see over in Israel. That's coming between the 14th and the 21st of May, 22nd. And then the flood itself, you're going to see the flood over in, I'll just assume it's going to be New York and or Florida, right on the East Coast. And it's whether they're going to say Russia has their little yellow submarine and shot a missile that went up, or earthquake machine that made it rise up and the tsunami happens, or a meteorite hit us that is impossible to have because they don't even exist, but somehow it crashed through the firmament of the dome up there that they can't penetrate and crash into the ocean. And so everything is deception. Nobody's dying. It's all fake. And I've been trying to say this for well, since I got on YouTube, I've been saying this shit's all fake. Now, I didn't understand why it was all fake. I didn't know what the end result was going to be. At times, it was disgusting because it's like they want you to know. They want to kill you, but they want you to know that they're going to kill you. But now it's like, no, I know what they're doing. And I also know that they know that I know, and I know that they know, and they know that I know. And everybody knows that we all know that it's all an act. It's just a another division of Hollywood playing out their roles on TV. And it's a game. It literally is a game. I'm glad I spoke up, because to know what the world is doing and not say anything, to know the truth and turn from it, nah. That's the thing about Steve. He knows the truth and he's turning from it. And he is the only one in the end that's going to continue to turn from the truth. The only way that Steve is going to repent is when he finally realizes that the powers that have him in charge, that gave him authority, strip it right away and then hand it over to the rightful owner. That's the only time that Steve is finally going to be humbled, and he's going to be beheaded, because he needs to be humbled and stop his lying. So just keep an eye out, listen for those key words, listen for Elijah, listen for Ron, listen for Peter, because they're already talking about James, and Steve is already thrown in there, and David, and John is already. I mean, just watch the interviews, okay? The best part is watch the interviews, and you'll see the key words, and you'll see that this guy over here, his name's going to wind up being Peter, and Peter's going to go and interview Elijah, who's over there. That's how the whole scam works. Steve will talk about it in his video. I'm here to help interpret it, and then show you that in the world script, in the mainstream media, it'll be played out too.